To work the Italian bind off on brioche stitch, you're going to want to cut your tail. Let's see, before you cut your tail, look and see what side you're on. You want to be ready to do your bind off when, looking right here, this stitch is, let's see, we've got our slip stitch and then we want to have a purl stitch right there. Okay, we want it to be like sort of like knit, purl, like regular ribbing. So make sure that you're ready to do your bind off when the second stitch on your needle when you're about to knit is this purl stitch right here that's been, this purl stitch right here. Okay, now cut your yarn. You want to cut it like 4 times the length of this side right here. Let's see, 4 times the length of your knitting. I don't know. I've got plenty, right? Plus a little bit for weaving in later. So that's how much I have. Okay. And if you've done the invisible ribbed bind off for like toe-up socks or something, this is going to be a lot easier because it's the same thing. If you haven't, that's fine. We'll go step by step. And this is how it goes. We have 2 setup stitches to do first. Your tapestry needle with the tail threaded onto it comes through the first stitch purlwise like this. I'm going to call that a purl. We're just going to come through purlwise and pull the yarn through. We're going to go purl like that. And then we're going to come back around to the back, come through these first 2 stitches like this, like that. Don't pull too tight here, but just like that. And then we're going to go into the second stitch knitwise. This is a purl stitch right here. Let's move this yarn out of the way. There we go. We're going to go in knitwise, like we're going to knit into it, just like that. And I'll show you a little bit of a faster way to do that in a minute. But that is a safe way to do it. So you can see that we just put that loop of yarn in there, knitwise. Okay, now it's time to start the bind off. We're going to do it in sets of 4 stitches, remembering that this right here, we're going to count as 1 stitch. This is like a brioche knit stitch, right? It's just going to count as a knit stitch as far as we're concerned. So the bind off, and you don't want to do this too tight, we want it to be stretchy, goes like this. Knit, like that, off. That stitch comes off. Now we're going to purl, go in purlwise into the next knit stitch, which is these 2, right? 2 together is a knit stitch. We're going to go purlwise. So we've got knit, off, purl. You may notice that this sounds like a familiar, this is the same rhythm that we do for Kitchener stitch, only it's all in 1 needle. Then we're going to go purl, and then off, right? Take that off, pull the yarn through, there we go. And then lastly, we're going to go knit. We're going to come in from the back and get in here knitwise. Now you can bring the whole tapestry needle out like we did before, or you can just push it through like this, like that, and go in there knitwise like that. So that would be purl, off, knit. We're going to repeat that sequence like this. We always knit off into a knit stitch, so here we go. Knit, and let's keep this yarn up here along the side, never over the needle. You never ever want this yarn to go over the needle, just underneath it like that. We're going to go knit, off. That stitch comes off. Then we're going to go purl into the next knit stitch down here, just like that, across the front. Whoops. There we go. Just across the front like that. We don't want to pull it too tight. Then we're going to go purl, off. Trying to keep this yarn here above our swatch and under the needle tip. Okay, there we go. Purl, off. Lastly, come into this purl stitch back here. There we go. And we're going to go knit right into the front of that. Right there. There, you can really see it well where we're going in. So we've done knit, off, purl, purl, off, knit, and we're going to continue all the way down the line. Like this. Knit, off. Let's get that yarn. There we go. Knit, off, purl. There's that. And purl, off. There's that stitch coming off. Knit from the back. Coming through the back like this, in there knitwise. Some tips about doing the Italian bind off. You can check the stretchiness as you go to see if you're pulling the yarn as tight as you should or if you're leaving it too loose. Here's our cast on. It's nice and stretchy. And the bind off is nice and stretchy too. This may be a little too loose. Maybe that one's a little too snug. So you can really check as you go. The nice thing is that if it was too loose down there, you can tighten up by pulling a little bit more as you go. And it'll sort of even out. Obviously, if it's too loose, it's going to look funny, but as far as something be able to, you know, fit on you, like if this was the cuff of a sweater sleeve or something like that, if it's a little tight down there, just compensate by doing it a little bit looser down here. So keep going on down the line for the Italian bind off, and I'll show you what to do when you get to the end. We're going to start the sequence. We'll go knit off, purl, oh, darn it. That yarn just keeps wanting to get wrapped around the swatch there. Okay, knit off, purl, purl off, knit. And you can write that down and just repeat that to yourself. I still say it all the time, even though I've done this bind off for many years now. Knit off, purl, purl off, knit. Adjust, I guess we should add in there. Knit off, and this last one is just a purl. It doesn't have a wrap with it because it's just a knit stitch, but that's fine. We'll go knit off, purl, purl off, and I actually like to come down here and let's see. I don't know, I think it's okay. We can just go knit off this last one. I think that'll be fine. There we go. Maybe come in here and grab a loop here. There we go. That's like for the extra, that's the very last knit. So let's look at these selvage stitches too. They look pretty nice. It's sort of like a garter stitch selvage edge. Looking pretty good. Looks like I was a little tighter with my knitting in the middle than I was on the edges, but we can always steam block this. This is just a little swatch, but you can steam block it to get it really nice and straight. Of course, if you make a long scarf, your tension is going to even out. But there's our invisible cast on and bind off for brioche. That looks good. I think you're ready to do it in the round.